Good evening again, everyone. Hope all you guys are in class just now. And let me start by sharing my screen and let us go to our pre-scene and then look at the management accounting information that they have given. So very interestingly, they've given how much revenue we get from each area and also our operating expenses, right, from each area. Now, what have you guys done any ratios or any evaluations related to this? Naga, did you do any evaluations or ratios, anything like that?
Actually, I did the divisional contribution ratios of the 3 divisions.
Okay.
So the engineering division is doing well with the 53% as a divisional contribution.
Yes.
Then the public relation followed by the legal department.
Right. So legal is contributing to us the least, right?
Yes.
And
the second thing, I couldn't see the comparable figures for the last year for this quarter. So it's very, unable to make any comment on the quarter-wise performance.
Yes.
But it looks to be, the operating profit is 34.6 for the quarter. If you annualize it, it is much lower than the annual profit of the last year.
Right. Yes, if you compare it with last year and this year, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's what I observed.
Right. Okay. And so if we are to now, if we look at the 3 areas and see if there is any merger within the country, right? Within the country, company that merges within Breesland, you merge with another company in Breesland, because there is a lot of activities going on. This is quite a competitive area, right? And you're in consulting as well. What do you think? What would you do ideally? What would you do here? Any synergies?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Yeah. So if this company AEN merges or acquires another company in Breesland, right? What would be the most appropriate thing to do from operations point of view? How would you look at their management accounting, and what kind of decisions do you think you will get into from an operational point of view? And I'm talking about another consulting company.
Here we may not be able to comment. The reason is synergy arising in which section. Synergy we will get in which section we will not be able to see. That's what is there no clue.
Right. Yes, Arthur. Arthur, you had raised your hand. Any comments from you?
Yes. Regarding the merger or acquisition, it would not be viable for the AEN to go for a merger or an acquisition for the consulting firm in the same area, but they can look into consulting firm which are who are providing consulting services in other alternative source of energies like solar power or biomass or other form of.
Right. There are pros and cons in both. Okay. There are pros and cons in both. If let's look at the UAE currently, right? And yes, Naga, before I go launch into my explanation.
Yeah, in fact, we need to see the industry analysis for uh, the uh, area wise, like the engineering section and the legal and public relation ratios, the portion of the that maybe with that we will be able to get some clue on the synergy what we are going to get.
Right.
Am I right?
If you're looking at the UAE, for example, and one of the things that you would see, I think, in the Middle East, across the Middle East, a lot of banks are competing for business, right? You can see there is a lot of the market is they're competing for business because nobody is actually going and taking on loans and etc, right? So there's a lot of pressure in the banks. So what they're doing currently is actually merging, right? You've seen there have been quite a few banks that merge, right? You would see that. And when there is pressure in the market, this is what companies would do. They will merge with the same kind of business, because by doing so, in this case, they will be able to use their existing competencies, right? And then bringing synergies, basically, these two coming together will bring synergies. Therefore, they will not need to have same amount. They don't need that staff, 50 in one, 50 in the other one. They don't need it, right? Because there would be an increase in staff but not double, because there will be synergies and they can manage it, right? So that is another aspect you would need to think of. If you go into something new completely, and if the current market is quite competitive, there's high rivalry in the market, you're actually spreading thin, right? So you're going into another alternative product. There can be pros and cons, right, in that choice. It depends. But because you're going into something new, and if the rivalry is pretty high in your current market and you're going into something new, there is that risk factor as well. Yeah, there is a risk factor. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? Another thing that I can see is this software amortization, which is quite large, right? So that means there is something here that you can work with, right? Software amortization, quite a large amount for a quarter, right? What are your thoughts on this? What can you read into this?
Software amortization is large, but it is. Sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, even if you see the allocation between the 3 or 4 department, it is uniform.
Yes.
It's the same. So there is a, from transfer pricing point of view, we need to look at how they can allocate from the size or from a proper basis need to be done to amortize properly.
Right. So the allocation is a question mark here.
Yes.
Right? So that's a question mark, because actually recharges is a big issue when it comes to even in real life, IT recharges, right? How do you recharge? So that's a big issue, and there's a lot of questions around it, because depending on how you recharge, 1 second, I'm just putting you on mute. So depending on how you recharge, your department, your area, your cost, your profit center will be a loss or a profit, right? So again, that is an issue. Allocation is certainly an issue, but I'm looking for another another idea, not about allocation. What else can you think?
In fact, Anju, in fact, when the assets replenishing, we need to replenish the assets. Like the software may be outdated one, we need to look into the updated one.
Because our look at it in 16 is 18.9 million, right? And here they have allocated already 14.9, right?
Yes.
A big question mark there. So what can you do here? Is there a possibility of so the question is this a kind of a generic software like an ERP that they're spending on, right? Or
Yes,
is it a specialist software just for them? Is it tailor-made for them? Right.
I feel that it is a generic ERP, otherwise the allocation basis is not justifying it.
Yes, can be correct. Yeah. So if it is something like that, is there a possibility instead of us owning it, make it as pay as you go concept, right? So here in this sense, we are looking at infrastructure cost, personnel cost, licenses, maintenance, right? All the IT costs are associated, and we bear the full cost of it, right? Now there is an opportunity here for the company to actually get the vendor or third party to manage, right? And in that way you are able to separate and pay the cost, make it as software as a service, and instead of the allocation you will be able to actually per subscriber you will be able to get that allocation. Then your allocation methodology is also quite correct, okay? And the next one would be that hopefully your total cost of ownership. So the idea is, what is your total cost of ownership, or TCO, right? TCO. This should reduce. And another fact is, instead of it being a balance sheet item, it becomes an expense item, right? And another advantage is, as and when we get new technologies, right? The new technology comes through, we need to upgrade, we need to do new things. This too, automatically, if somebody else or the vendor is managing it for you, they will do all these activities, right? However, you need to ensure your total cost of ownership, you have an advantage, right? So a couple of things that you will look at is the total cost of ownership, as well as you will look at, is there an advantage by getting the latest releases, right? And then do you also get an advantage by not maintaining, managing, etc., because then your focus is completely on your business and not on your software maintenance and management. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Right, because
Yes.
I have a question mark with this one, right? Because this doesn't look right to me. Now, travel and accommodation is another one that they have got, and travel and accommodation, are they? We don't know much information on this. Is it traveling within? Is it traveling overseas? Right? If it's traveling within, is there a way, teleconferences, WebEx, all those things are possibilities, or is it something overseas? That's a question, but it's not as significant as your software amortization. Other operating costs, we don't have more details around it, but we have on salaries for each of these areas. One of the things which we don't know is it related to support staff, or is it related to actual workers who are doing the work, right? So that's another question for me. When it comes to engineers, is it pure engineers or other people working in the engineering department, right?
To say the professional and supportive.
Correct. Yes, because I'm looking at if there is an opportunity for us to take away all the support, and is there a possibility to give it away? Someone else does it, and we only focus on our activities. Right. This is another angle that I'm looking at. Yeah. Any other analysis that you thought of? Yes, Rahul.
Legal department.
Hello.
Legal department salary bill is very low.
Correct. Yes.
Anju, I have a doubt here.
Yes.
Although the revenue from engineering department is increasing per month, the salary that they are paying is reducing. Does it mean that any key employee has left or is about to leave? So that's a matter of concern. Because that's the basic fundamental, that's the basic strength AEN has.
Correct. Yes, because it's actually halved, isn't it? From 3.3, it's reduced to 1.5.
Yeah. So if it is the case, then it is something which requires immediate attention.
Yes.
And I can sense the examiner would definitely try and test what can be done in this case.
Correct. And the other thing to that is, how you're increasing your sales, but then that's a very good, they are getting the most amount of sales, right? So that their engineering is pretty strong and quite well reputed, right? So the next question is, how do you keep it sustainable? Yeah.
Out of the 4 founders, 3 have engineering background. So engineering is the core of AEN. And if
Correct.
the employees are leaving, it's a huge concern.
Yes.
How can we deal about it?
And the thing is there succession planning here? Because if I'm looking at the revenue, that the revenue stream, the best is 36 is from engineering. So you rightfully highlighted, yes, my people are leaving, the salaries are decreasing. So how are you increasing your sales? Then also looking at, well, have you got succession planning? Now from April, from 8.9, it doubled in May and then dropped in June, right?
Yeah.
So again, what's happening is a question mark. We don't know the scenario, but it seems a bit erratic. You get something like that. Now other thing that we need to understand is, if we are getting sales on our reputation, we've got less people, but how can we manage? Are we able to kind of subcontract our work, and where we oversee certain things and we can subcontract it and then maybe reduce our wages bill? That's also a possibility, right? So we get the sales is there, but we will be able to reduce our wages bill instead of having people full time, and hire them only on contract basis, right? But however, you're right. It's a big concern, in this case.
So,
Well spotted.
Thank you, Anju. How we should prepare for this, because there's no information given in the case study about
Yes, I would say if I look at from a risk perspective, I would immediately look at it from a risk angle. It's a case of operational risk, right? Because I have to identify what sort of a risk it is first, right? And then say, right, it's an operational risk that I see here. And then I will say, well, one thing is to see it, but now how am I going to mitigate it? What are the things that I have to do? Right. But on one hand, it's quite well stated explicitly that people are very happy here, right? So therefore, I don't know the story, what's going on in this aspect, why they have reduced from 3.3 to 1.5. Right. And then another thing could be, succession planning. Have they got, what are they going to do when it comes to people, they find people leaving? Have they already got trained people from your own country, as well as look elsewhere, right? That's another possibility as well, because you should also think of attracting new talent from other parts, because you always, this is a very new technology, so you need to think of people with who are cutting edge in certain countries coming in to work with you, right? And you will see this in most cutting edge technology, where they don't become competitors anymore, they collaborate, right? Whether it's building a rocket or building some the planes, whatever it is, latest things, when they start doing it, you would see companies come together, they pool resources, right? So that's something else that they can do as well in parallel. But they need to focus on they should have a very good HR strategy in place and implement it, because because their whole thing is consulting, right? So if they lose people, they won't have their revenue. It's very, very clear.
Yeah, and also being a finance manager, I guess that's all we need to look at. I mean,
correct.
We don't necessarily need to go into further details.
No.
I guess that's more management responsibilities.
What you're looking at is from a business risk perspective. You will, because you're looking at, well, this is the sales I have, and I'm getting most amount of sales from engineering. I have a very good sales engineering core product, right? And therefore I need to make sure I have the resources to support it. What you have to do is flag it and say, guys, there's something radically going wrong, and my sales is also increasing, and that it comprises of X amount of the total revenue, and however I don't have that support in the personnel, and the personnel is the only thing that will add to the sales, right?
Right. And I have one more question.
Yeah,
for
sure.
you, Anju. Legal, I saw they are not performing very well, as in from 7.6 they have come down to 2.8, almost one
Yes.
third of, in less than 3 months time.
Yes.
That raises concern, and in the SWOT analysis and the risks identified in the corporate governance of AEN, they have mentioned that nowadays more and more claims are coming in, and
Yes.
we are exposed to an increasing volume of claims.
Yes.
So can we relate these 2 points together and try and think of something to mitigate our risk, as in legal department is certainly not doing well?
Correct. So, yes. Again, what's going on here? Are we losing the market here to some other competitors? right?
Yeah.
Because that's what we could see, kind of, right? Because when you look at their salaries, that seems kind of static. It's not moved that much, whereas there's a huge drop in sales. So obviously they are not, their market, they are losing the market, right? In this case, they're losing the market. What can they do? Right? What can they do? So that is it other people coming in and taking the market share? Is that what's happening? But because it seems like it, because in this risk we should be seeing more and more legal issues coming up when we should have business, right?
Yeah.
Because from the industry wise, it seems like the industry, there is more growth. Yeah, people are suing each other, for whatever reason, that doesn't matter, because as long as we get business, that's fine, right? But unfortunately we are not getting business. So something is wrong there. Is it have our lawyers, have they lost their touch? What is happening there is a big question. Market penetration is a strategy that they can adapt, because the legal department needs to, it's the legal department of this country. They know about this country, the laws, etc., etc. So it becomes very geographic bounded thing, isn't it, when it comes to legality, right? Because they can't take that kind of, they can maybe advise the other countries, this is what they're doing, etc., formulate policies and etc. But from a cases point of view, they need to fight the cases in this particular country, right, and take on cases here. But since they're not getting many, is it that our legal department are not close to our clients? Has that happened? Right? Because it seems like we are getting work, yeah, we're getting work, but the legal department are not getting work. We're getting work from engineering, right? So ideally, if engineering is doing well, all these others also should be doing.
And if we go to page number 11.
Sorry, yes?
Yeah, Anju, I was saying, if we go to page number 11.
Yes.
Of the pre-CIM.
Yeah.
The first box where it says legal.
Yes.
The page just above
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The last line of this paragraph in legal, it says this usually requires legal advice and normally involves a lawyer attending a public hearing to represent the client in arguing a case.
Yes.
I have a doubt here. Does it mean that AEN represents the client in the court?
Yes, they should. That's what it is.
Okay, so they are also representing their clients in the court, in the public hearing, as well as they are doing the paperwork for them.
Correct.
So maybe, as the legal department is not doing that good, maybe it's a good, we can give it a thought of outsourcing the legal work to some legal firm and see if we can save on something.
Yes, there's someone else who wants to make a comment. Yeah.
Yes, I'm Nagaraj here.
Yes.
In fact, the can we take in a positive way, saying that the legal cases is decreasing and the public is aware of they getting aware of?
No, dear, because it's stated here, right, that legal liability, we are exposed to an increasing volume of claims associated with services that we provide. So we are exposed to a number of claims, right? So the business is growing quite a lot, right? And that results in legal cases as well. I mean, it's part of it, right? But only thing is we got a lot of competition, and that's very clearly stated. We have a lot of competition coming in. I mean, when we started off many years ago, there was no competition, but now there is quite a bit.
You mean to say the legal business is going to somewhere else other than AEN?
Yes, yes. Any other comment? Because you see, if you look at, we have, one second, I want to go to the org chart. Now we have an account manager, right? And the account manager manages all these three guys, three sectors, and provides a service, a full service to the client, right? So client would be opting to take this and this, but this is not there, not that much, right? So which is a bit of a problem.
Yes.
Any other comments on this? Good discussion because of the observations that we see, and we are preempting some decision, some kind of questions that may arise because of what's there in the questions. Any other comments? I want to look at the risks again because we spoke about government funding before. So we spoke about key personnel as well. Security and quality of service is a big issue here because of what is happening in the world right now. Okay, so you may have some questions around it. There might be ethical things coming through, say for example, there might be issues where people would accuse you of discrimination. How can that happen? Can you tell me?
Maybe they would put up a question saying that AEN has won a new contract.
Yes.
And maybe AEN has got into some malpractices to win the contract.
Sorry?
Maybe AEN has got into some malpractices by bribing the government officials to win the contract.
Right.
If the competitors won, they can put up this blame, and we would be in a position to justify our stand.
Right. Okay. Another angle would be, in this case, when it comes to recruitment, right? So it's important, AEN is in the consulting and in wind energy, right? Or maybe they would say they've gone into another alternate, whatever it is, you're getting into touching something very pertinent to the security of a country, right? So whoever you recruit into your organization, you need to have a lot of security checks, right? Huge amount of security checks. And it may come down to, you come from a it may be a problem where you migrated from a particular country, still you don't have citizenship, you have the right to work, but then AEN decides not to take you on, right? Because it's cautious because you come from a particular country, right? So there is an ethical issue here, right? So again, there is a dilemma, and how you will manage this is a question, right? How you would manage it. because the reason why I'm putting this security story is because of what is happening in the world, and it should be on everyone's agenda, and everyone should be talking about it, because you need to apply this across your organization, right? The operations itself, you need to understand what is the risk, what are the issues you will face, how am I going to mitigate. So even before you face something, you need to clearly state, what business are we in? We are not in manufacturing garments, right? We are in the business of providing energy and providing services, consulting services to energy, and we are, it is quite a serious issue, right? Because if people get into it and try to damage, it will impact a whole country, parts of the country, the citizens of the country as well. So you would, in quite a lot of countries, they're very clear on their recruitment policy on who they would recruit, right? They will say very clearly that they cannot have a criminal record, they have to be citizens of that country, right? That the organization has the right to go through all your records, your past records, to get security clearance, right? So these are points that you should think of when you're writing anything on security, because think of what harm can happen if you do not recruit, if somebody who is not right comes into this pool of people, and what harm can be done. Any comments on this? Because it's not very apparent what is the risk, right? Because you're consultants, you will not see that risk. You will say, what kind of risk? We are consultants. But you are going to your client site and you are project managing, you're doing a lot of activities, you're in the engineering of it. Yes, Naga. Yes, you want to comment on something? Can we consider a note given in the Brisbane Daily News? Protesters occupying the site. So what about it, Naga? What about it?
In fact, it's like a type of risk we can think of. That's what when you are analyzing the risk analysis, security and
right.
So you are taking you're considering the internal employees the security risk, or the overall social security.
So one angle is the employees, right? Is you have to be careful, because you have to be extremely careful of the employee side, as well as the protesters who come in, occupy a site. That is purely a matter of how you deal with it, right? How you deal with it, yeah. Because there is, if a site is erected and the protesters come in, destroy or do whatever, there is definite clear direction as to what the authorities will do. You don't have to get involved, right? There is a very well laid out plan what the authorities will do. However, what you should do is to ensure there is insurance prior to handing over. During the construction, there has to be insurance, right? It's a good question. During the construction, there has to be insurance, and after handover, there has to be insurance as well, right? Is that clear why we have that insurance? Anybody who is not clear why we should have this insurance?
agree with you. We should have the insurance to mitigate the risk of loss.
Yeah, because the insurance should be back to back, right? In the sense, when you build a house, the builder will take insurance, right, up to the time of handover, and the builder will advise you to take insurance at least a week before the handover, right, so that it covers anything, right? So there's back to back. It is known because if you don't have an insurance during this period, even if it's one day something happens, you lost everything, right? You can't, there's no insurance that period, you didn't have insurance. So back to back insurance should be there. Any other comments? Right, what I want you to do now is let us attempt a question. Now, let me go in. You need to go into your Dropbox, and actually you have these questions, and in these questions there's something called mock exam. I want you to open that, and there's one question here, 1st August, there's one here. Okay, so I want you to start doing an answer plan for this in 10 minutes. Okay, I have all of you guys got access to the computers, or are you on mobile phones? So I guess you all you guys have access to this, to the Dropbox. So I will ask you to go ahead and start doing the question right now. Okay, in 10 minutes I'm coming back to you. Okay, let's start with your answers. Who's willing to share your answer script with us? Yeah, sure, I'll go ahead. Yeah, I can see the screen now. That's it. Yeah. So, how many questions are there in this? Raul, can you talk to us? Can you talk to us through this? I can't hear you. 1 second, let me see what's happened here.
Hi Anju, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. Yes.
Okay, I feel that there are two questions which are asked here, that what will happen if AEN is owned more than 25% by RES? What would be the impact on the decision making? And I guess there was one more question to it. So based on my reading, I guess this is what I could draft.
Right, so you saw two questions there, is it?
Yeah, I think so. May I just go back to the question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, the first is the impact on the decision making after 25% shareholding by RES,
yes,
and how we can take advantage of the low cost base in China. And yeah, basically he just wants a draft from me, some sort of a report which he can put it across for further discussion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to return because I was reading the question myself to see what we've got. Okay. So board has requested me to complete the report on the following. How might the presence of our a 25% shareholder affect our decision making as a board of directors? We've never thought about it before. And also the CEO has proposed how we can take advantage. Yeah. Okay, let us go to your answer now. Yeah. And so you found the two questions. Have you highlighted them? Where are the two questions here? You're first talking about, okay, I can see them. Okay, so any models that you can use in the first section?
Oh yeah, definitely we can use. I have in fact used Pestle to identify the risks, and we can also use Ansoff here to see the new market and the impact which
the first section. Sorry, Rahul. The first section. What models would you use?
I'm not getting about any model to use in the first section.
Right. Anyone else who has used any models there in the first question? The first section of this question? Okay, let us go. And the second one is you used Ansoff?
I mean, I could have used Ansoff. I have used Pestle here.
Right.
But yeah, Ansoff can also be used, and Mandelos can also be used. I mean, Mandelos can be used in almost all the questions, I guess, because every situation would impact the stakeholders.
Yes.
So we can use Ansoff, Mandelos, and Pestle. These three, and the fourth is Tara that we can use, considering the risks that we can identify.
Right, okay. So the first one, you're talking about 25%, then it still not to worry about it. Is still with the board because they don't hold the majority holding, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else that you can talk about it?
From the risk point of view, I found a risk here of hostile takeover by the Chinese company, and that's what I have mentioned.
Yeah.
But apart from it, I found it to be beneficial for AEN because they would get a bigger market to explore, and given their expertise, if they will utilize it well, China is at the moment, if you see the statistics, 10 world's largest, out of 10 world's largest farms, 7 are based in China. And by, I guess if I'm not wrong, by 2030, China has decided to produce all of its electricity from alternate sources, especially wind farms. So it's a growing market, and given a chance to explore that market would be beneficial for AEN, provided it takes appropriate steps to cover its own risks of being taken over ultimately by them.
So it's interesting that they had 10% and then now they're going in for 25. They've gone in for 25%, more than, doubled is kind of ownership there. That signifies something. They're very interested in us. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you are on the Chinese side of things, and you are investing in a foreign company, how would you look at things? What would you do?
If I'm owning RES, I would eventually like to take over AEN.
Yes.
So that I can get the biggest market share in Friesland, and I can use AEN's name and the reputation they already have to my benefit, which will help me. So being a Chinese, if I would be the decision maker in RES, that's eventually I'm going to do.
Right. So now, how would you think of it from that angle. What are the things that you would do? You won't sit and wait. Yeah, you won't sit and wait. Now you have from 10% you've increased to 25%. How would you influence the AEN's board, the decisions? How would you kind of know what's going on with AEN? And obviously you want to find out more, okay?
Yeah, of course. Being a 25% shareholder, I would not be able to do much. But yes, I would look into the weaknesses. Liquidity is a weakness. I would look into other legal areas wherein AEN does not have a strong hold. May try and counter AEN from those
So
sides.
it is true, on one side you don't have influence as a Chinese company. You don't have influence because you've got only 25%. You don't have that decision making. However, what can you do in order to find out what's happening in this company?
I would put across any of the like directors or any of my resources into AEN.
Correct. That's right. I was
get
waiting for that. Yeah. So has anybody commented on this? Has anybody stated to include a non-executive director from RES into AEN? Because that's exactly what you will do, right? That's exactly what you will do because, well, you don't have influence to make decisions and change the operational side of our AEN, but certainly you would want to know what's happening in the organization. So you will have a non-executive director maybe appointed to AEN so that you know what's going on in the company. Because these guys, remember, if you're trying to acquire a company, right, you got 10%, you found out, well, this is really good actually, these guys are pretty good, they've been there from 2000 and now we're 2016, they got some cutting edge technology, they get government grants, etc. They've got a lot of sponsorship from the governments, pretty strong, good reputation. They are European, maybe they're in the West, they can have access to a lot of other areas which we don't have access. So they want to be in a correct position. Their positioning wise, geographically and politically, may be pretty good to be where Breezeland is, right? So that's what they may want to do. But however, the issue is now they can't control this company, but they want to know what's going on in the company, and they can jostle their way into a position of a non-executive director, right? So that's a way of coming into the company, right? It's a kind of a very strategic way of doing things where you gradually come in. Now, anything else that you can say on this one, Rahul?
Moving. Are we talking on the first point only?
Yeah, first point. Anything else that you want to chat about, or no? You're done with it?
I think we're done with it.
Okay. So the second one.
Second one, they want to know how can we, get the benefit out of it, because RES has proposed to come over to China and make the best use of the cheap labor. So since AEN always wanted to expand and grow, I think it would not be a wise decision to send the engineers to live in China and do the job from there, because it doesn't make any sense, and the employees would not want to, an European would not love to go and live in China. What we can do out here is we can think of establishing a manufacturing plant in China, because the labor is quite cheap, norms, government is promoting FDIs, and material is quite cheap. So that could be a good option to explore, of putting up a plant and manufacturing in China, and then considering other factors of trade. If it's feasible, I think that should be done.
Okay.
That's my recommendation.
Right. Okay. Anybody else who wants to share their screen with us? Thank you, Raul. It's good. So I will critique particularly the second side. I want a second task. I want to ask someone else their views. Anyone else who would like to share their screen with us? Roland, how about you?
No, sorry, Andrew. I just joined the.
Okay. Right. Okay. So you have the opportunity to do the second question that I have, right? So there is a team of people who are doing the first question in 60 minutes time. They're doing the full answer. So that's good. But in your case, what I want you guys to do is a 10 minutes of answer plan. Now, the second question, second side of it, second task, has anyone else attempted? Ravindra, what about you? Or Shilpa? Would you like to share your answers? Atta, what about you? You guys are pretty quiet today. So, anyone else? Shilpa, yeah, go ahead. Do you like to share your screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, not a screen. I can just say some points regarding
Yes,
this.
go ahead.
Yes, they have mentioned low-cost strategy where we can apply Porter's generic model.
Mm-hmm.
What I feel is like it is better if the team goes to China and take the advantage of low-cost labor there.
Right. Okay. Go on that line. I want to debate that. Okay.
Yes. I think we discussed last session that overseas is one of the biggest challenge where AEMs can take forward and instead of looking for the manufacturing in their own place,
Right.
go for the overseas,
Right.
overseas market and see the
Right.
take the advantage of the resources.
Yeah. So I stop you there, Shilpa. Can you tell me, Shilpa, are you in Dubai or are you somewhere else? Are you based somewhere else?
Dubai.
Right. Okay.
In Dubai.
Right. Okay. So what type of company do you work for? What do they do?
We are into this thing, sugar.
Right.
Sugar refinery. Yes.
It's a trading company?
Yeah, it's a trading.
Right. So if your company tells you tomorrow, Shilpa, you've done a great job, so you and the 500 other employees will be moving to Vietnam on the 1st of September. How would you feel it? Because
Yeah,
Vietnam...
if it is for the short term, if it is for the short term, yes, I understand. Yes, I can go there and take challenge. But if it is for the long term, I have to see.
Then I can hear a lot of children, a child or children behind you. So
Yes.
you have to take your family, your husband, everybody else, right? And they're moving not for a short time, it will be a long time because Vietnam cost is very low, right? So I'm going to move you guys out, they would say, to Vietnam. How would you feel?
Yes, I may not say yes.
Yeah. So, so that's what I wanted to send the message when you propose to send this guy to China, right? It will be a rude shock for them, unless if they're in their 20s and willing to explore, very adventurous, no families and things like that. Well, they might be willing to do that, but if it is people who have been there for some time. And as you can see, Brisbane, these guys have been in one area, in fact. Yeah, they have not moved away.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying that to take new challenge, I understand again if it is for the long term, it's not advisable. If it is for the short term, it's not like 500 employees going there and seeing the work done. It's like team going, like even if you see the MNCs and all, they are going and they are getting trained and they are coming back to their country and they are establishing.
But look at what he's trying to offer you. Okay, this guy, the CEO, again, is he's making a statement, but a very strategic statement, right? And Ronald, I want you to critique that and say, can you see something more into this guy's statement, the CEO's statement?
Yes.
Ronald?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get the.
So 1 second, I'm just gonna show you the question, right? So here, the CEO of RES has proposed to the board that we should take advantage of the low-cost base in China and move some operations there to gain cost efficiencies. This is a hot topic and will be discussed at length at the board meeting. Would like to get your thoughts on this as well.
Well, I mean, moving low cost to get the low cost, not really sure. We're a consulting company principally, so it's not manufacturing. You cannot really benefit from that low cost base, and then your talent is linked to the country where you're operating, and you're getting money from that government to work into that country. If you move out, you're gonna lose all these subsidies. So this is what I see also happening in here. Of course, what you mentioned earlier with regards to the people, this is definitely also a major blockage over there. So this is so far what I see.
Yeah, so you can break down. I think you have covered quite a bit of items there, because what you said is the government's view on it, right? Saying, they are providing subsidies, etc., so that you actually have your talent developed in that country and support the people. That's one of the reasons the government is giving you those grants, etc., right? And the support. And the next one is the people aspect of it, moving them there. And one of the things I can see is the CEO is trying to actually gradually get more and more into the guts of AEN, right? By saying, okay, I've taken 25% of you. Now, why won't you think of putting some of your activities into China? It's pretty cheap, right? But there is an agenda behind it, right? There is an agenda, because as soon as you move even certain part of it, they have control over that, right? And the thing is, even if you're thinking of moving certain things, areas, is it your operational back office things that you can move out, right? And the other question that you need to ask is, as per the government law, will AEN's government, Brisbane government, allow you to take out information data from Brisbane to China, right? This is another big thing, a question that needs to be put out there, because China will certainly not allow you to take out information from China to anywhere else. Similarly, especially when it's quite sensitive information, the country may not want you to have any data, the servers going out there or anything like that, right? So always look at the angles of security, ethics, confidentiality, as well when you're answering a question, right? People aspect comes, so you need to mention the people aspect, right? Even if you are able to take information out, then you need to think, well, you're going to have redundancies, right? What are you going to do with people who will, there's a change process, change management there, right? Is it everything done in English, and will they be able to do the whole thing in English? Are they prepared to do that? And what is the percentage of cost that they're going to save, right? This is also a question. Any other comments from people? Yes, Raul.
Anju, I have a question here. What I read from the case study is the government is encouraging the use of alternate energies, and they are giving subsidies to the landowners. They are providing grants to the landowners so that they can build a wind farm or maybe establish a turbine at the cost of the government. AEN is directly not benefiting from the subsidy.
Yes, correct. But so we don't know how the question will get posed, right? So that's why we don't know what benefits. So as of now, your pre-seen says that. Your unseen, I don't know how it will come through. So there might be the government or anybody else who's funding AEN as well, or activities of AEN, encouraging them to build this kind of community here, right? I'm not sure, but the thing is, if it is put out, then the answering process, you need to consider from where you're getting your funding. Is somebody funding you because you're staying there in that particular geographic location? Can you take information out? What about your people? Right? So there is a structure to answering that question. Any other comments? Right, so I'm going to give you another question, right? And I'm going to put this in your Dropbox. Give me 1 second till I load it into the Dropbox. I will share my screen with you just now, and this is your second question, for which I want an answer plan in 10 minutes. Yeah. So start right now. I'll come back to you in 10 minutes. So let's share the screen with us, and let's see how you answered. Well, you guys are still writing, awfully quiet. Roland, how about you? You'd like to share your answer?
Sure.
Yeah.
I was struggling a bit with this camera. I don't know, it's turning on and off.
Yeah, that's okay.
So, yeah, let me just go ahead and share the screen. Is it visible?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So my approach was to start with a small statement, saying it's unfortunate this incident happened, we have a high quality of standards and blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Then use Mendelow's matrix to create a framework about the stakeholders, and then to prepare a plan of action. So the interest groups and how to communicate to them and to explain to them, as part of an agency. Basically, I was also suggesting here, I put them in the wrong order. I should have started by saying, you know, we're going to seek the help of a communication agency specialized in handling the press. So, and appoint an internal team from various departments and appoint a team leader to act as a liaison with the agency, and then get the board to issue a statement. And of course, get also internal stakeholders and consult with them and involve them. So these are the 3 plans of action for that perspective. On the second part of the question, so I basically said, you know, this will eventually backfire if it gets out to the public, and then there's a high probability that it will get out to the public. It's a bad example for the employees and setting precedents and stuff like that. And most importantly, it is unethical, and you know, he was planning to develop on the ethical part.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So I think Rahul wanted to share his screen with us as well. Yes, Rahul.
Yeah, I'll share it. You can
yes,
see the
can
screen
see
now?
it. Yeah.
Okay. I first tried to thank her, Fiona, for updating me with the position, and then showed my concern as it's going to be a reputational risk for us, and that reputation is very dear to AEN. And then I also tried and explained that China is notoriously famous for ill-treating its workforce. Quality of materials are not at par with the European standards. And then I tried to move into Mandelow's matrix while I was putting on the stakeholders. What would be the impact on them if the news goes public?
Right.
How would it impact them? Then I moved on to the second point, wherein I thought it's better for us to revisit the agreement which we would have signed with the Chinese company, and I guess we definitely would have put a clause that we as AEN would only be responsible for providing consulting work, and we would not be responsible for the materials. So I guess if there would be any legal angle to it, it's better to revisit the contract and see that we are covered. And lastly, I was thinking of answering the second question of Luke approaching the university. It's an ethical question, and definitely that should not be done. Instead, appropriate ways should be found of how to solve this crisis.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else who's written something different or additional? Anything else? Okay, just give me a second. I'm going to share my screen with you. One second. Okay. Now the question is, this is our first initiative outside Brisbane, so a lot of excitement there, but we have got an issue. Now, what is the problem? It's with the workers and with the material used, right? So there are two issues here, the workers and material used. Has anybody commented on our work practices, what we wanted, what we expected from this particular, the Chinese company? Has anybody commented on that? Right. So if not, that's a key thing. as AEN, we should have very clearly stated our expectations when it comes to the work practices we expect them to follow. Right now, you know what happened with Nike and the Chinese. I think Nike and the Asian, or I can't remember whether it's China or anywhere else. Nike had a problem with child labor, right? And so they could not get out of it saying, well, you know, we were not joint venture partners, we just bought the goods from them. So a lot of the time
it was in Vietnam, Andrew. Sorry.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I knew somewhere in Asia, but I couldn't pinpoint. Now, it is well known that these countries really ill-treat the labor, right? And what the first world, the community, what they state is, well, if we are buying a product, we want to know it is manufactured ethically. So if you are selling to me something, I want you to ensure throughout your supply chain, you have to ensure that the product is ethical and good quality. Right? You cannot at any point in time say, well, it's not my problem, or I don't know anything about it, because my activity is from A to B and that's it. Yeah. So you have to be careful in how you answer, because we are supposed to take a moral high ground. That's what we are supposed to do, right, as professionals. And we have to state, now the problem is the issue currently that we are facing with the media. The second problem is the relationship, the ongoing relationship we have with this Chinese company. What are we going to do with it, right? How would we go on or terminate the relationship? Yeah. So if you guys have not communicated, written that, this is a very important point. The next point that you need to emphasize is, yes, there is an ethical issue. We all know about it. How do you go structuring your answer? What is the ethical issue here? Who is impacted, right? Let us go back to our diagram, right? And then you will remember what we spoke about, what we should do. Yeah. Because this is a classic case where the examiner is going to catch you to and say, well, they have not really stated where the CIMA ethics issue is, right? They have not stated that. They've just given a generic answer, right? Yes, there's an ethical issue, anybody can see it, but really, what is it? How do you deal with it, right? So that's a big question that you need to answer, right? Is it ethical? Is it illegal? Is it legal? Right? Check all your facts before, so actually find out, is it really true? You cannot go to the media. You can go to the media and you can say we're investigating, because if you don't know the answer, that's a better thing to say rather than say something else. And then you need to take your moral high ground, because the media, if the question is, okay, now what you're going to do about it, and we have to investigate. If we find they have done these activities, what should we do? If we know, if it's not true, then there's nothing to worry about. But have they got certain things to prove that they have not mistreated? What is it? Right? So you need to go through these steps to basically come to a conclusion, right? Because the exit with the Chinese company is also very, very important, because this is where it is. Okay? Because for us, our reputation matters a lot. We have spent a long time building it, and we really do not want to tarnish Any comments? So has anybody mentioned this CIMA ethics anywhere? And what ethical principle is impacted? So there is one big area in CIMA where they talk about ethics, right? I will just put it in our chat box because I would like you to access this and go through it, right? Because there's definitely going to be ethics in some form or the other, right? And you should be able to talk about it, right? Any questions? You guys are awfully silent.
Sorry, so where are you gonna post this to the Dropbox? Actually, this screen that you're just showing right now to go through the ethics. That's what you mean?
Go through there.
You just said that you want us to go through this list that you're just showing right now on the screen.
This is there. I just sent you a link in the chat box, right? It is a website, a CIMA website, and they go into ethics. There's a specific sector into ethics.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful.
So thanks. Because they have spent a lot of time, energy talking about ethics, so they will ask you a lot of questions around it, and especially since there are a lot of issues that come up around ethics, and this is a very topical thing, China having a lot of money and then trying to come in, influence us, but then throwing money at us as well, but then they have very unethical practices, right? A lot happens in Australia as well. Just to give you an example, one of my friends who mentioned that there's this Chinese people, very rich guy, and he employs all the Chinese students or migrants that come in. It's only Chinese, and what they do is they have cameras on each, focusing on each of these people, what they're doing, right? This is totally not acceptable in Australian society. I mean, this is illegal, and they get paid very little, but because they're scared, right, and they think, oh, at least I've got something for $8 an hour, I can manage it, let me stay there, right? So this is the kind of practices they do, even in a country like Australia. So a lot of unethical things that they do. It's not fair, and that's where there's a lot of emphasis on ethics and how you behave. If you find out something like this, if you see something, you have to be a whistleblower and inform, right? If you don't inform, you're also part of that group who just keep quiet. Any questions? Yes, Rahul.
Anju, one question that crossed my mind is the first paragraph. It says in the question that AEN were the consultants to a major Chinese company that manufactures wind turbines.
Correct.
Now, going by the case study, we were consultants who help in installing. We
Correct.
never manufactured, and we have got no expertise in manufacturing.
Yes.
We only deal with how that can be successfully planted on the land, how we can find a suitable land and do the installation. Why the first place we got into this when we don't have proper expertise?
So we are consulted, right? We are the consultants in this space, and basically we are the engineers who come in, and then we would be ordering the product as well. We are engaging in negotiating and working with the supplier, right? This is where it comes to play.
But over here we are assisting them in manufacturing, so that means
not manufacturing. So sorry, go again.
I mean, what I understood is we are helping them and providing them expertise in manufacturing the turbine because they are manufacturers. They manufacture it. So
One
when we don't
second.
have
Let
when we
me
don't have
look at.
expertise, why at the first place we went into it?
So AEN were the consultants to a major Chinese company that manufacture wind turbines. We were consultants, right? We were consultants, but it does not say in what capacity. Could have been consultants in the capacity of providing the designs and etc., right? Because we know what the end user wants, the requirements, all that. We are aware of it. We have not gone into the manufacturing of it, but we were consultants.
Okay.
Yeah, got it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It is very tricky, isn't it? It's a very
it is.
tricky question. And then, you get stuck as to, okay, how am I going to answer this? Because you're expected to give a very structured answer. Any other comments? So how did you guys feel about this question and the previous one? Any comments? Were they easy? Were they difficult? Roland, did you see anything that you could have improved in your answer?
Definitely, Andrew. I really benefited a lot from this. I keep getting struggling. I mean, I struggle all the time with the ethical questions.
Yes.
Like you said, I realize that there's an ethical issue, and I realize that, yes, this is something bad.
Yes.
The problem is I didn't realize how do you actually deal with it in the
Yes.
essay? What do you talk about?
Correct.
And now that you know, I mean, I saw the framework before, with the circles and so on, but frankly, I just didn't know how to apply it. And now I took some notes down when you were talking, and I think I built the framework, and I see
Correct.
how to look at it. So this is really helpful. I'm gonna be definitely. I'm gonna be reviewing this more and more, and I'm like
Yes.
probably 80% sure we're gonna have an ethic question. So
Yes.
this is good, very
Good
good help.
practice. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Thanks.
And because again, talk about the supply chain, and something comes along, you can't disassociate yourself with it and tell the public, okay, tough luck, I'm not part of it, because you have had a relationship with that other party. It's your duty to ensure that they provide you with a product or service that is good, because you have been associating with them. You should not associate with people or companies that give a bad image and into unethical practices. What about you, Raul? Anything that you could have improved here?
Yeah, definitely. By putting on the like I read about the CIMA code of ethics, I could not relate it to the real scenario here.
Yes, this
I
is
should
very no. This is very common thing, guys. This is a very common thing across all students, including myself. Okay, so I've done it a couple of times, and fortunately at the time that I was doing the exam, it was there, but not to this extent, right? It was not to this extent. People do struggle, and that's why the examiner is going on asking questions about it. And I think the students don't get the opportunity to apply that structure into this ethics question. They struggle with that. How am I going to do it? I think you guys have cracked it. We shall soon find out the next time that you guys do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll stop for today. Have a good night, and we will see you again soon. Thank you.